I'd like to welcome our special guest, Mr. Ross Brady, parents, family and community members, staff and students to our ANZAC Day commemorative service. Can the Indigenous captains come up to do an acknowledgement of country, please?
We gather today in a special place to continue our learning journey together. We acknowledge the Yagara, Jagara and Yagara people as the traditional custodians of the past of the land upon which we meet.
And we recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay respect to the elders past, present and the future.
On this day, above all days, we remember those Australian men and women who died or suffered in the great tragedy of war.
On this morning of April 25th, 1915, Australian and New Zealand troops landed under the fire at Gallipoli, and it was then and in the violent campaign which followed that the ANZAC tradition was flawed. The elements of the tradition have inspired and offered an enduring example to later generations of Australians.
Each year we pay homage not only to those original ANZACs but to all who died or were disabled in the service to this country. They enrich our nation's history. Their hope was for the freedom of mankind, and we remember with pride their courage, their compassion, and their comradeship. They served on land and sea and in the air in many places throughout the world.
Not only do we honour the memory of those Australians who have fallen in battle, we share the sorrow of those who have mourned them and of all we have been the victims of armed conflict.
On this day we remember with sympathy those Australians who have suffered as prisoners of war and those who, because of war, have had their lives shortened or handicapped.
We recall staunch friends and allies, and especially those of the first ANZAC Day. May we and our successors prove worthy of their sacrifice.
Not a Hero by Clyde Hamilton. The Anzac Day march was over, the old digger had done his best. His body was ached from marching, it was time to sit and rest. He made his way to a park bench and sat with lowered head. A young boy passing him approached and politely said, "Please sir, do you mind if I ask what the medals you wear are for? Did you get them for being a hero when fighting in war?" Startled, the old digger moved it over and beckoned the boy to sit. Eagerly the lad accepted. He had not expected this. "First of all, I was not a hero," said the old digger in a solemn tone, "but I served with many heroes, the ones that never came home. So when you talk of heroes, it's important to understand the greatest of all heroes gave their lives defending this land." The medals are worn in their honour as a symbol of respect. All diggers wear them on ANZAC Day. It shows they don't forget. The old digger then climbed to his feet and asked the boy to stand. Carefully, he removed his medals and placed them in his hand. He told him he could keep them to treasure throughout his life, a legacy of kind left behind, pain, and sacrifice. young boy was speechless. He couldn't find words to say. It was there the old digger left him, going quietly on his way. In the distance, the young boy glimpsed him, saw him turn and wave goodbye. Saddened, he sat alone on the bench, tears welled in his eyes. He never again saw him ever, but still remembers with pride when the old digger told him of heroes, the young boy sat and cried. I'd now like to invite Mr. Ross Brady to speak to us.
Thank you very much indeed, staff, ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys. My name's Ross. I'm from the Navy sub-branch of the Returned Servicemen's League. I'm here today to talk to you about the commemoration of ANZAC Day. ANZAC Day, as we all know, 108 years ago at 4:28 a.m. there was a landing at a place called ANZAC Cove in Gallipoli, which came into the history books as the realisation that Australia had stood up and was recognised as a nation. Even though we'd been involved in activities back in the Boer War in South Africa, and prior to that, 1914, in France. From Gallipoli through the Middle East, back to France, to the end of the war in 1918, on the 11th of November, Remembrance Day, which you again will probably celebrate, and we celebrate Remembrance Day because we do remember. But tomorrow is a day of commemoration. And commemorate those who have served. Not only those who have passed, but those who have served. And remember those who actually paid the ultimate sacrifice during World War I, World War II, since then, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. There are various areas that we've been as a nation with the Australian Defence Force. We saw during World War I inventions that came before, such as the tank. The tank. We saw aircraft being used in a warlike situation for the first time, which of course saw the birth of the Australian Flying Corps, and in 1921 the Royal Australian Air Force, which I served with for 25 years. So if I'm biased towards the Air Force, please excuse me. And I'm still involved with the Air Force, with the Air Training Corps, or the Air Force Cadets, who parade out in Gatton, for those of you who wish to know about that. You can talk to me later on about that without any problem whatsoever. I'm blatantly will recruit, but no worries. But we have gone through from there to 1939, when commenced World War II. World War II was a conflict, again, a world war. We fought the Axis powers in those days. From there on in, we finished that in 1945. And we saw many, many inventions. One of the major inventions that came out of World War II, was just prior to that, was penicillin. We now use that today as an antibiotic and the basis of all antibiotics. So, whilst there has been mayhem, death, destruction, a lot of good things came out of it as well. But we still remember those who passed, who fought for our ideals. Otherwise we would not be here today talking to you as we are. And I look ahead and I look at you all, and I know that Australia has got a very, very sound future. Because, girls and boys, you are our future. And I thank you very much indeed for being part of that future. Thank you.
We now invite each class to lay their wreaths, starting with the Year 5-6 classes. Year 3 fours. Year 1 twos. Preps. We now like to invite any other members of our school community to lay their wreaths.
Mr. Brady will now recite the ode. Then the last post will be played. Following this, there will be a minute of silence. Then the rouse after this, we will play the Australian and New Zealand national anthems.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget. Thank you.
Boys and girls, you can sit down. Thank you. I hope that today's ceremony has helped to deepen your understanding and appreciation of ANZAC Day, and that it has inspired you to continue to learn about our shared history and the experiences of those who have served our country. Let us never forget the sacrifices made by our ANZACs, and let us always strive to uphold the values that they fought for. Thank you for your participation in today's ceremony and for your ongoing commitment to honouring the ANZAC spirit. Thank you again to our guest speaker, Mr. Ross Brady. Students, parents and community members, the Laidley March is on tomorrow and you are welcome to join and march with our school. Please meet Mr. and Mrs. Stafford at Ambrose Street in Laidley wearing your school uniform if you wish to participate. Thank you very much. Boys and girls, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to talk to your buddy beside you about what you learned from our ceremony today.